Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. We're gonna do another. Well, it's gonna probably be a part 2 and 3. How y'all doing today? I really appreciate my new subscribers. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for giving me a chance to voice my opinion, whether you agree with me or not. But it's good to have dialogue, and I appreciate y'all. I really do. Um, and I really like doing YouTube. I really, really do. So in this particular video, we're going to talk about people leaving leaving the United States. Some celebrities are leaving because of Trump, and ordinary people are leaving just because the cost of living is too high. I've been looking for English speaking countries, and it's five. I'm looking at Belize, Fiji, Bali, where Russell Simmons is. Puerto Rico is so beautiful. It's a couple of black men who I follow. I can't think of his name, but when I get it to you, he moved to Puerto Rico. Some have a couple black couple moved to Egypt. And when I tell you for $78 a month, $100 a month, the apartment they rent in Egypt is beautiful. Another black couple moved to Vietnam for $200 to $500 a month. Absolutely beautiful. I seen other couple move to Thailand. I'm saying you can live on little or no money everywhere else but here. If you're not afraid, I'm sure thinking about it. I'm sure thinking about it. And it's not because Trump, because I like Trump. Not because of that, but because I can do more with less and not have to struggle. With $500 a month, I can have a maid and a cook and real good food, organic food that ain't sprayed over by Bill Gates products. So I'm gonna do what I can for a half an hour and then we'll be back on it. So there's this couple, they built a travel company for Americans who want to leave the US. Then they did it themselves. Brett Andrews and Jean Barnett spent years researching on how to move out the US. They relocated from Alabama to Mexico. That reminds me because I have a co-worker who retired maybe, about 5 or 6 years ago, black, and there's a community in Mexico. It's thousands of blacks that live in Mexico. She moved to Mexico, love it, and she come back and forth, love it. It's life beyond struggling all the time here in the United States. It took Gene and Beard Brett Andrews 8 years to leave the US. They married couple began thinking about it in 2016 following the presidential election. They were growing dissatisfied with the U.S. political landscape and yearned for a chance to explore the world beyond Birmingham, Alabama. They figured Canada would be a good place to start, but a 2017 trip to Vancouver made them realize it didn't feel like home. Honey, Vancouver got such a big drug problem, you might as well stay here. And homelessness. Until the pandemic lockdowns of 2020, when both Beard, now 52, and Andrews, 45, realized they could move elsewhere and work remotely for their marketing jobs and software engineering jobs. They renewed their search in earnest and set a goal to move within a decade. Barnett says the amount of research she and Andrew poured into their relocation project prompted them to start their own travel company, Betsy, to help other Americans explore their options to move abroad. Barnett and Andrews went back to the basics to figure out what city to live in. They focused on what they wanted most in terms of weather, climate, and culture, legislation, cost of living, distance from the U.S., and other factors. This process sparked the idea behind Expetsy. which started as a weekend project. The website features 10 question quiz for people to input their living preferences. Also asks what you plan to do in your new home country, study, work, or live out your retirement. Based on those answers, visitors get a list of cities around the world that might be an ideal match. The couple created the resources especially for people like us who want to leave the US but haven't seen enough of the world to know where they want to go. We travel, but we aren't constant jet setters types. This week, that Roe versus Wade was overturned was when our site just exploded with travel. There's a huge movement of women leaving the U.S. for a lot of different reasons. Barnett left her remote marketing job by September to focus on building Etsy full time. Andrews left his software programmer job in the spring of 2023. That year, the couple also bought a Cigna, the international health insurance provider, as a sponsor, and extra cash helped them grow their traffic quickly. That's good to know. I'm going to keep that. Etsy began hosting nightly TikTok live streams in April 2023 and garnered an audience curious about expecting. That group naturally led to a Facebook group where they discussed coordinating a tour. In March 2024, Barnett and Andrews and a group of 30 Americans around Portugal for vacation. In each city, travelers attend an educational seminar led by experts to discuss the ins and outs of immigrating, covering financial planning, visas, healthcare, real estate, and other legal matters. During the rest of the trip, visitors explore neighborhoods with a local tour guide and even see properties for sale or for rent. Expenses first group of travelers paid 1,000 for the Portugal leg and 1,200 to go around Spain. Visitors are on their own to book their flights and accommodations, though the company offers recommendations and facilitates people booking stays together. Beyond attending seminars and group outings, travelers are encouraged to experiment with the mundane. You want to stay in a neighborhood you might want to live in and walk to the grocery store. She adds, like running errands and visiting a bank. You go somewhere and you know it feels like home or it doesn't. Interest in expat scouting tours is picking up as the U.S. political landscape gets even more heated leading up to the presidential elections. So they're saying in mid June, interest swelled following the first presidential debate between Joe Biden and Trump on June 27th. The aftermath made for a crazy week, Barnett said, adding that traffic to SB spiked by 800%. So far, expatriate travelers has mostly been women ranging in age from 22 to 80, with a cluster around 40 to 65. Barnett says the group included some couples, though most were solo travelers and were either people who could work remotely as digital nomads or were planning to retire abroad. They come from all across the U.S. and generally want out. Overwhelmingly, it's not negative reasons, it's adventure and personal. They're seeking something special. It's not to say you can't find those things in the U.S., but a lot of times they're reserved for the wealthiest facts or people of a certain leisure class. That is so true. Looking ahead, SB is planning for its next trip also to Portugal and Spain in September. The company hopes to run 8 trips in 2025 and expand to new markets around Mexico, France, and Italy. As for Barnett and Andrews, their preferences led to Murcia, the capital city of Yucatan State just off the Gulf of Mexico. Well, now it's the Gulf of America. It checks off all their boxes. It has a warm and sunny climate. It's a 30-minute drive to the coast, has a strong middle class, and people are happy with their lives. Now, shoot, I'm telling you, and has strong social networks. Plus, it's roughly 30% cheaper than living in Birmingham. That's what I'm talking about. Their site Expedia, a site that compares cost of living around the world. Politics were top of mind too. We wanted a place where laws were changing more into what was important to us. Mexico recently legalized abortion and same sex marriage naturally, and so we felt like that was a positive change. Mexico will have its first woman president this year, and so that was really important. I could care less about that. That ain't what I'm looking for. The couple first visited Modena in 2022 and worked quickly to wrap up their lives in the States, including selling a three-bedroom, two-bath home in Birmingham alongside with their worldly possessions. If it didn't fit in their car to make the drive down, it needed to go. There it is. They officially moved April 2024. Moving to Mexico is probably as inexpensive of a move you can make. The main fees included $45 per person for a tourist visa that they're converting to a temporary residency, 3 months rent, 75,000 pesos or $4,200 to secure their apartment, and gas to cover their 2,700 drive down with their dog and three cats. There it is. The couple is now settling into their new lives abroad while expanding their Etsy site. And everyone is like, how are you liking Mexico? And I'm like, we are the dogs that caught the car. What a life. Wow. Wow. Dang, did I do that on this phone? Let me see. Oh, I did it on this one.
I'm leaving the U.S.
Wait a minute.
regardless of whether or not we reach parity or not, because the direction that the U.S. is going for the foreseeable future, for the next 5 to 10 years, the direction the U.S. is going does not maximize the opportunities for my children.
Facts.
There's going to be more legislation, more bureaucracy, more laws, more economic uncertainty,
inflation,
like everything, and more conflict in government. We're not going to figure out who our president is in November. We're going to argue about it for another 4 years.
Right.
And then there's going to be an even more dramatic election 4 years from now that's going to result in 4 more years of arguing. I have an 11-year-old son right now.
Right.
In 8 years, he'll be 19, right? I have a 6-year-old daughter right now. In 8 years, she's going to be 14. I want them to have the best possible opportunities. Unfortunately, I don't think that can happen in the United States.
I don't
United States
either.
dictates what their level of education has to be. The U.S. dictates when they have to register for selective service. The U.S. dictates, it's like there's tons of rules that they fall under that come before opportunity. That's not what we used to be. That's what we become, and that's what we stand to see in the future.
Right.
I can take our American passport and be an American citizen, pay American taxes, be proud to be an American. I am very proud to be a 44-year-old American. I am not so proud to be an American father of a 6-year-old child and 11-year-old child.
I
The
agree.
America that I
agree.
for when I was in the military, the America I was willing to die for at CIA is not the America that exists today. We're in middle school. Remember middle school? How much did you like middle school?
Not much.
Nobody liked middle school. We're forgetting that as a country, we're young. Like we just got out of the elementary school years where everything was easy and everything was fun and we got nap time and we got like treats and playground time, right?
Yeah.
Now we're getting into middle school where there's people that want to put us in a closet and give us a
Wedgie.
Yeah, right? I don't feel like I have to be here while the rest of the country goes through middle school.
So it sounds like it's economic runaway, like all the problems that we know about with the debt, which is impossible to solve, right? And just inflation that's going to keep going up, coupled with political, like more and more political instability. Those are the reasons, and that just creates chaos. You're right. It creates a less pleasant, vibrant place to be.
Like, so if you're trying to grow a future leader of the world, if you're trying to grow a future successful contributing citizen of the world, not necessarily just the United States, are you going to stay in like the messy place to try to grow that? Are you going Are you going to put your seed into a sandy plant bed? No.
Dang, did I delete the wrong thing?
Are you going to leave America in 2030?
I'm going to try and leave America in 2027.
I read that somewhere. Why are you going to try and leave America in 2027?
So I think the United States is going through a very difficult time right now, and I think most people understand that. We are a young country. No matter how much we think that we are the best in the world, we are actually going through the early part of our adolescence as a nation. And you can see it playing out every day in the headlines. You can see it in our role in geopolitical events. You can see that we're suffering in terms of trying to identify ourselves. We don't know, do we want to be a real democracy? Do we want to be kind of a partial democracy? Do we want to treat everybody as equal? Do we not want to treat?
It's not a democracy. We're under a republic because we have a constitution. Look it up.
As equal, we're struggling in the same way that you and I did through middle school, right? My children mean the world to me. And what I want to do is give them a life where they have the choice to do anything they want to do. Unfortunately, I don't believe our country for the next 5 to 10 years is going to be the kind of country that allows children of today to choose and be whatever they want to be. I think our country has some growing up of its own to do before we really offer people equal access to opportunities. So for me, if I was my 11-year-old son, when I turned 15 or 16 years old and I start to really care about something, I would like to be in a place where I can explore that thing. I don't think that's going to be in the United States. I think that's going to be in Europe. I think that's going to be in the Middle East. I think that's going to be in Latin America, where he will have all the advantages of the world outside of the United States.
What do you think about what's going on at the moment with geopolitics as it relates to like China and the US? There's a bit of a power struggle going on, and there has been, but a lot of people forecast that China is eventually going to overtake, or maybe already has, the US as the sort of global economic force. Are you preparing for that? Do you think it's going to happen?
I think that there's 2 realistic outcomes, and there's one less realistic outcome. The most realistic outcome is that the United States and China continue to compete and reach parity, equality with each other.
Right, I
That's
agree.
the most realistic outcome. Maybe the United States remains 10% bigger. Maybe China gets 2% bigger economically. But that's a scary place to be as well. You still have to lose all the influence to get there. And when you're there.
Okay, let me do that. Now let's get back to this article, and then I'm about to get off. Boomers are leaving America to retire abroad in droves because the U.S. is just too expensive. Now that's how I feel, because I'm trying to come out this year. It's too expensive. When Alan Fawcett decided to retire from his career in computer science in 2011, he knew he wanted to spend at least a few years traveling, particularly around Europe. After decades working in tech, he was ready, as he says, to give his mind a rest. Computer program destroyed my brain. I needed escape. What he didn't know is that the escape would become permanent. He met his now wife Elizabeth shortly after he retired and eventually took the leap to move permanently to Spain with her. Fawcett, now 67 and a Spanish resident through marriage, couldn't be happier about his decision. Though his wife still works, he spends his days playing tennis, reading, going to the beach or cafes with friends in Barcelona. He and his wife are able to travel around the continent, even planning a trip to Paris for the Olympics. The same lifestyle wouldn't be possible in the US. Housing is much more affordable, food is inexpensive, and the wine is even less so. The mass transit system is great. It's a good life here. Who became a resident in 2019. Outdoor dining is everywhere. The weather is amazing. Everything is very cheap. That's what I'm saying. Fawcett is part of a growing trend of retirees spurred by Americans' retirement crisis who are moving abroad instead of spending their golden years in the U.S. In December 2022, there were over 700,800 people receiving Social Security payments abroad, according to the most recent available data. Yes, some move abroad because they simply cannot comfortably live on a fixed retirement income in the U.S. That is a fact, where the costs of housing, healthcare, especially, are becoming increasingly unaffordable. A substantial number of retirees rely almost completely on Social Security payments to make ends meet, with an average around $1,900 per month. A growing portion of elderly Americans live in poverty, with social services few and far between. Others always dreamed of travel and immersing themselves in other cultures, and still others couldn't afford to stay in the U.S. but realized how much more they could get for their money abroad. That that's what I'm talking about. The latter is true for Susan Sweeney and her husband Joe, who moved to Hungary in 2015. Who would get cold. Some move abroad because they simply cannot comfortably live on a fixed retirement income in the U.S. That's true. Sweeney, 69, had done well for herself in a career in banking software in the States and even retired early into Florida. She was put off by the increasingly high cost of housing and health care. When she and her husband visited Hungary before they moved, they looked at the affordable cost of living and slower pace of life and decided almost on the whim to move. They now own a home in the countryside about 2 hours from Budapest, surrounded by vineyards, swinging gardens, and revels in the environment. This is them. Sweeney also points to the extensive public transit system as major plus. It's free to use for those over 65, and there's a train station at the base of the hill they live on, as is the sense of safety and community they feel. They save thousands a year in property taxes compared to Florida, and expect health insurance is a fraction of the cost of American health insurance. Come on now. She says one of their biggest monthly expenses is their Hulu subscription, which they watch via VPN. I like to think I'm on the cutting edge of where to retire. It costs us next to nothing to live here. That's what I'm talking about. There are drawbacks. The rest of Sweeney's family is in the States, so they need to plan trips to see each other. The cultural differences can be difficult to manage, at least at first. Sweeney is still learning the basics. There's not the same level of individual wealth in Spain as in the US, Fawcett points out. The typical salary is far lower than the six-figure job you can find in the States. And of course, the income tax burden is much higher. Sweeney and Foster wouldn't have been able to save the amount of money they did throughout their high paying careers in the US had they spent their careers in Europe. Most of their investments are still in the US financial institutions because of the difficulty to move there. And there's plenty of other bureaucracy and red tape to move through to move abroad. Sweeney and her husband enlisted a lawyer to help them buy their home. Wow. The couples the first couple of years are taking care of bureaucracy more than anything. Anything you want in Spain requires a ton of paperwork. But the standard of living is much better for a wider sway of population than it is for the US. There are small things like fresher, less expensive groceries and concert tickets being much more affordable and accessible. And then there are the larger benefits like months of paid maternity leave, inexpensive secondary education, and affordable health care. Did you hear that? It's not the US. They do things differently here, and that's why we're here. And while the universal healthcare system, like those in Hungary and Spain, are often criticized for long waiting times and the potential for subpar care compared to the US, Both Fassett and Sweeney are satisfied with the standard of care they have received, including through surgeries and major procedures like colonoscopies. One drawback is that many providers don't speak English. Sweeney said if something major happened, they're considered flying back to the U.S. for care because of the language barrier. If you walked in here as an American, went to the doctor's office, I have to pick you up off the floor. There's none of the dealing with the insurance. It's walk in, see the doctor, walk out. Mindy Wu, director of investment at Betterment, warns that those interested in retiring abroad to take time to plan for considerable financial, legal, and logistical pitfalls. It's crucial to avoid seeing retirement abroad as the cheaper option and instead begin saving as early as possible while diversifying your portfolio. Consulting a tax professional with international expertise is crucial, as living abroad may also come with new tax obligations both in the U.S. and your new country of residence. Fawcett plans to remain in Spain with his wife, especially as she is the caretaker for her 91-year-old mother and has grown children in the area. Sweeney, too, says she and her husband are hungry for the long haul, though they may eventually move from the vineyards to Budapest. I would urge anybody who's going to do it, go on vacation, rent a house, look around. You'll find yourself at some places where you never would have dreamed you'd be. I would urge anybody who's going to do it, go on vacation. Oh, I already said that. For some, the American, I'm going to end that here and we're going to be part two. All right, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm going to finish this later and then I think I'm going to get home. I guess I got to keep on. I'm about to get ready to go to work.